He's the Second City Saint, the voice of the voiceless in the world he's the best in. He's young buck detestin'. We're talking about none other than Charles Montgomery Punk. And while he's a rock star on the mic and still capable of putting on some amazing matches in the ring, even on commentary, he's also one of the most challenging people in the industry to work with, you know? I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling, and let's take a look at 7 of CM Punk's most controversial moments. Now, if you enjoy this comment, do us a huge favor and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and GTS that subscribe button. We're a new channel, and we'd really appreciate your support. Number 1. Homophobic slurs. Despite his progressive politics and his straight-edge lifestyle, Punk has been known to use some less than appropriate language from time to time. And one of those times was caught on tape during his brief stint as the leader of the Nexus. In 2011, during a tour of Australia, Punk was outside of the ring, doing what bad guys do, trying to rile up the fans. But Punk took it a step too far when he used a derogatory homophobic slur. When the video made the rounds of the media, including noted muckraking site TMZ, the WWE was quick to respond saying WWE does not condone this type of language or bias, and we reinforce that with our talent who are independent contractors. Independent contractors. Wink, wink. Yeah, and to his credit, Punk owned his mistake as well, saying, "I'm embarrassed. I own up to being a total douche in this situation, and I offer a sincere apology to anybody I hurt with careless words." Oh, okay, but now you've insulted douches, so... Number 2, the time he popped a fan. A short time after his unfortunate incident down under, Mr. Punk managed to turn himself into one of the hottest names in the industry. He dropped a pipe bomb, he went on a long world title run, he laid out the People's Champ, and he'd gotten himself into a feud with none other than the chairman of the board himself, Mustache McGee. And it was after an extremely lackluster street fight with Mustache McGee that Punk found himself in a bit of a pickle. The script called for him to escape into the audience, and the closing seconds of the show were going to be him staring at and jawing at Mr. McMahon and Rybackney. The problem was, as a heel, Punk was surrounded by people who weren't particularly fond of him, and because he had to have his back to them, at least one member of the audience tried to mess with the best in the world, smacking him in the kidney. Well, Punk went off, hauling off and decking someone and throwing him to the ground. The fan then got up and submitted Punk in the first round. Just kidding. But the person Punk did hit absolutely wasn't the person who hit Punk. Wah, wah. Once again, the WWE and CM Punk both apologized, and it was another black eye and chewed up ear for the industry. But Punk probably deserves a pass for that one. Number 3, risky Mizness. CM Punk has seemingly never liked Mike the Miz Mizanin. Punk came up through the indies with bloody brawls and amazing matches, while The Miz is a reality TV star who got his shot in the WWE through yet another reality show. Punk sees himself as a counterculture rebel, while he sees The Miz as the ultimate corporate yes man. And it drives Punk insane that The Miz got to main event WrestleMania against John Cena back in 2011. And here's a quick aside, it's easy to laugh at The Miz in a WrestleMania main event, but in 2010, he was doing fantastic work, and people were very excited when he won both the Money in the Bank briefcase and the WWE Championship. Back to the point, when CM Punk was done being a UFC punching bag, Fox Sports brought him in to do commentary during their short-lived program, WWE Backstage. And everybody was shocked. Punk took to the stage and gave everyone a variation on a classic Rowdy Roddy Piper line by saying, "Just when they think they have all the answers, I change the culture." It was weird, it was exciting, it was fun. We were glad to have him back in any capacity possible. A while later, Miz commented on his own appearance on that program saying, "Oh, sorry I didn't change the culture." You know, a fun little jab. Well, Punk responded with, "Go suck a blood-covered in Saudi Arabia, you f***ing dork." Oof. It's like The Miz had said, "Your shoes are dirty," and Punk said, "Well, your dead dad used to cheat on your mom all the time." Miz was shocked, saying in a later interview, "I thought we were friends. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get him." Yeah, us either, man. Number 4, the Bikini Girl. Here's a fun rule of thumb for all of you upcoming wrestlers. If you're gonna say something terrible, don't put it on the internet. In this instance, we're talking about CM Punk and his former BFF, Colt Cabana, talking about the Gold Bond Mafia during an episode of Straight Shootin'. To start things off in this charming clip, Cabana talks about a woman who was a part of the group whose name he couldn't be bothered to remember. He then goes on to discuss how they used her for rides to and from the shows, and whenever she would get in the ring to learn to wrestle, they'd intentionally injure her so they wouldn't have to actually train her. Classy. And then Punk follows this up by saying, "Most women in the business are rats." Oh boy, alright, let me just crack open my big book of wrestling slang for that one. Rats, also ring rats. Noun, a woman whose sole purpose is to sleep with wrestlers, similar to a rock and roll groupie. Fortunately, this would be the last time Punk and Cabana would say something completely foolish online. Number 5. Punk and Cabana get sued for saying something foolish online. Okay, maybe what happened during Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast wasn't foolish. I'm sure the majority of it was truthful, but I really wanted to make that turn of phrase work, so forgive me. Nonetheless, after Punk left the WWE in January 2014, he appeared on his buddy's podcast to explain his side of the story and air out some grievances. Most noteworthy in this conversation were Punk's accusations related to his health and medical treatment. In 2016, WWE filed a lawsuit against CM Punk and Colt Cabana. WWE claimed that Punk's comments on the podcast defamed Dr. Chris Amon, a WWE ringside physician, by making allegations regarding the medical treatment he received while working for WWE. The lawsuit went to trial, and in June of that year, a jury in Cook County, Illinois, ruled in favor of Punk and Cabana. They were not found liable for defamation. Punk and Cabana maintained that their comments were protected speech and that they did not make any false statements. So, best friends forever. All's well that ends. Number 6. Cabana sues Punk. Punk sues Cabana. Now, with a lot of what we're going to talk about going forward, you're probably going to have to take a lot of it with a grain of salt as it's been through the Wrestling News ringer through the years. But before the WWE lawsuit, Cabana received a notice from WWE requesting that he take the podcast down. Cabana, who probably didn't have the resources to deal with a lawsuit, considered this course of action but was dissuaded by Punk, who reportedly said he would take care of any legal fees that might result. So the podcast stayed up. As the lawsuit took place and the legal fees started to mount, Punk sent Cabana an email stating that Cabana would need to pay his own half of the mounting fees. The email said, "To date, I have spent $513,736 on this Amon lawsuit. My outstanding current bill is at least $300,000. Half of all this is yours. Divide the $513,736 by 2, and that is what you owe me and what I expect you to pay me. Starting now, I will no longer be paying your bills. You are on your own. Whatever my bill is currently will be cut in half, and half will be yours. If you choose to make this ugly, that's fine too. I hope you won't, but I gave up on you doing what is right a long time ago." As Cabana probably believed that Punk was fitting the bills for this, he was rightfully freaked out at the potential of having to cover his half of this mid-six figures bill. Cabana believed he and Punk had a verbal contract. Punk disagreed. Punk also made the point that Cabana was making money off of the Art of Wrestling podcast, and that could cover his end of the fees. At the end of the day, the lawsuits were settled out of court, and Punk and Cabana would never cross paths again. Number 7. Cabana lights the fuse. Years later, Colt Cabana would get a job with All Elite Wrestling. It was a minor role where he got to have fun with Kenny Omega online or be a member of the Dark Order. He was always good for a laugh. But when CM Punk joined the new promotion, we didn't get to see Cabana anymore. Now, the rest of this entry is going to be a lot of hearsay because the main players aren't allowed to talk about what happened, but we'll give it our best shot. First of all, Punk rubbed Hangman Page the wrong way, encouraging Page to go off script during a promo and claimed that he was protecting AEW from Punk. Although it's never been verified, it's believed that Page was alluding to Punk encouraging AEW's owner, Tony Khan, to stop using Colt Cabana. Although Tony Khan has gone on record saying that that's not the case. Punk would go on to defeat Page for the AEW title in a match that Punk claims he was worried would turn into a real brawl. Punk would get injured shortly afterward. When he returned, in an unscripted moment, Punk would call out Page in an interview when he knew Page wasn't in the building, thus making Page look like a chicken. Punk would regain the AEW title at All In 2022, but injure himself once again in doing so. An enraged Punk would go off during the press conference. Seemingly set off by someone in the audience mentioning Colt Cabana, Punk would bash his former best friend, accuse the Elite of leaking lies to the wrestling media, and encourage anyone who had an issue with what he said to meet him in his locker room. The Elite, having an issue with what he said, met him in his locker room and a brawl ensued. A mysterious brawl that we still don't know exactly what happened, but apparently someone got bit. When it was all said and done, both Punk and the Elite were suspended while things were being figured out, and both the AEW Trios title and the AEW World title were vacated. Punk would return the following spring with his own show, AEW Collision, where he was supposedly given the ability to pick and choose who was featured. If you annoyed Punk, it's believed that you were out. And one of these people who annoyed Punk was none other than Dylan McKay's son, Jungle Jack Perry. Perry would make a reference to Punk on the biggest AEW event of all time, 2023's All In from London's Wembley Stadium. Punk would confront Perry afterwards and a fight broke out. A fight that was so violent that apparently AEW owner Tony Khan feared for his own safety. It was then decided that Punk needed to be fired. Oof. Wow. When you look at it all in list form, it's really interesting to think how things might have turned out differently if Cabana and Punk had never done that podcast. Well, that's our list. Did we leave out any of Punk's biggest scandals? If so, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, we're a relatively new site. We'd appreciate it if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.